Alright, already kind of gotten in the middle of this project, but I decided to put the plug down here just because going up there was going to be a lot more complicated. This wire is a little heavier than I expected. It would hang down, and I didn't want to deal with making anything super elaborate. But what I did, this little cover for this plug comes off. All I did was center it, and then I took a center punch right here, center punched it, and took a 1-inch drill bit and just very, very lightly drilled into it. I'm gonna clean all this up, but this guy will just go in the hole, and I'm gonna put the radio down there. So I'm gonna fish it through down the side here, so it's kind of out of the way, and that way in the future it'll be a little more accessible if I want to take it out and have like an ammo box set up. Just shove the plug in there. It'll be a little tight. I'm gonna follow this up with some plastic screws to keep it in place, but yeah, essentially if I want to use this, that's what it'll look like. I'm starting to fish this Cat 6 cable to get it to come out of here, where I'm going to be running all of the wiring through. And I'm assuming that most people watching this know how to get this far by pulling apart their center console and pulling up their seats, and it's just, it's a bit of work, but it's mostly common sense. Alright, just pull this guy through. That's painful. Make sure that guy's good. Not pinching anything. Nah, that guy's good. So now I got this thing over here. It'll be easier to pull it through there. And voila. Just be kind of careful as you're pulling. Okay, first step done. Now I gotta run power. I think for the moment, I'm just gonna run this over to the fuse box. I want to put this on my secondary battery eventually, but I just want to get this thing up and running. Oh, and I'm gonna run the antenna down through that grommet. I've already got my pop lock, whatever it is, controller unit wire going through the grommet here. So I'm just gonna wire it through there. The next thing I'm gonna do is run the power, but I would highly recommend putting some wire loom on it. This is, I think, 1/4 inch. I don't remember the dimensions. This is left over from a previous project, but I'm gonna try to pop these ends out of the connectors so I can slide this over, and that way when it's underneath the carpet here, any kind of like movement doesn't cause the wires to fray. Alright, after much debate, I decided I'm going to hardwire this into my secondary battery. But, for reference, that little 15 amp fuse right there is where it was plugged in. And if you only want the radio on when the truck is on, then that's a great spot for it. And just using one of these out of fuses is super simple. But I want to use this when the truck is off. So I'm going to go through the painstaking work to route it through the engine bay. All right, here's the final product. Got the quick disconnect Neutrik Cat 6 plug, which I just put the screws in. I'll probably opt in the future to get the corresponding barrel connector, which would snap into place, and to release it, you would use this push button here, instead of using the little plastic tabs. Got the Expedition Essentials already mounted with the mic clip. I ran the power to the secondary battery after all, because I really wanted to use this while the truck was off. And I'm not sure if I stated before, but you need to have an FCC license to use certain channels for the MXT575. Actually, any GMRS radio. I believe channels 1 through 7, you don't need to. Don't quote me on that. But 16 through 22, which are the 50 watt high power channels, you do. And you need to learn the etiquette to use those channels. So if you plan on getting one of these radios, I highly recommend getting a license and then learning that. There's a bunch of videos out there. I won't go into detail, but overall, this thing was really easy to install. It's just time consuming. And it was a little time consuming finding all the proper parts. Getting this thing all wired together was a pain too. But overall, I'm super happy with the way that this thing turned out. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know.